Okay, well, I'm in the plant biology department. My name is John Mugg, and I'm a botanist.
Okay. Are harmful pesticides being used in the United States for the production of fruits and vegetables?
Well, they all pesticides, and it depends on the definition of pesticides. Pesticides are compounds that are used to combat pests. So by their nature, they're harmful. So when they're misused, that is when they become harmful.
What are the harmful side effects of pesticides to the human body?
Well, again, when we look at pesticides, like with any compound, we have to look at toxicity of the pesticides. So there are ways of measuring that toxicity, looking at LD50s, which is the lethal dose, giving usually in milligrams per kilogram of organism, but of what it takes to kill a rat, basically, that kills 50% of the population. So you look at the dosage that kills 50% of that population. And by doing that, then you can look at different pesticides and compare them across different ones and take the necessary precautions. There's so many different pesticides that there are some pesticides that are contact sprays. So you spray and they kill the insect or fungus or whatever it is instantly, or if it's an antibiotic killing a bacteria. But there are others, especially with insecticides, that are used that are these type of materials can be either on contact spray or they can be systemic. So they can be sprayed on the plant and then they're incorporated into the plant, and it makes the plant parts poisonous to the insect. So when we look at dangers to human health, I mean, we certainly want to look at the efficacy of these pesticides, how long the pesticide lasts when it's sprayed on the plant. So even contact sprays, for example, I ran the butterfly house for years, and one of the sprays that I used was malathion, and malathion has a 30-day efficacy, meaning that it's still effective 30 days after it's been sprayed. Well, what happened was I released butterflies in there about 35 days after, and in one day every butterfly died in there from exposure to a little bit of that pesticide. And so butterflies are good indicator species of that, but they indicate just how toxic some of these things can be even after they've been sprayed and following the criteria that's listed on the packs.
What are the harmful side effects of pesticides to the environment?
Well, again, the environment includes all the other living organisms out there. So one of the biggest issues that we are concerned with, obviously, is non-targets. And when applications of chemical pesticides are applied to to a whole group of organisms, it's going to affect not only the targeted organism, that might be a scale insect or an aphid, but all of the what we refer to as beneficial organisms, or even ones that are benign, that aren't hurting or helping that organ or hurting the tree or whatever that is that you're spraying. And so you can end up eliminating these, and these have an important role in keeping other things under control. So and often the predators are more susceptible than the prey. So often, for example, in natural systems, these natural predators actually react to a less dosage of the pesticide than the pest does.
What are the harmful side effects? No, do you know any alternatives to pesticides that you think the U.S. should implement to the production of food?
Well, I do. I mean, certainly pesticides are part of the suite of materials that you have available to and using integrated pest management strategies, or IPM. And IPM, what it does is it not only looks at the options of using chemical compounds. It's not saying you can't use these, but it tries to rely on other factors and integrating a variety of pest management strategies to eliminate the need for too many chemical applications. So, for example, one of those is understanding behavior of the organism. If the organism, say, is an insect, like a corn earworm or something that attacks corn, one of the biggest attackers of corn, understanding its behavior, that perhaps it overwinters in the soil, and when it emerges it needs to find that corn to eat in the spring. So behavioral changes like rotating crops might eliminate that problem completely, rather than applying, you know, thousands and thousands of millions of gallons of pesticides on the crop to control that pest. There's many alternatives to use of biological controls, and these are living organisms used to control pests. Now again, it can be a virus that attacks an insect, or a virus that attacks a bacteria if it's a bacterial infection. But let's talk about insects, which is easy. So you can have, like Entomophaga is a fungus that can be sprayed that kills certain insects. But often you can also use other insects that feed on insects. So you have parasitoids that are little tiny wasps that lay their eggs inside of the pest organism, like an aphid, and they basically eat the aphid from the inside out and kill that organism, emerge, and go to lay more eggs. You can have predators as well that actually physically eat them. So you think of like a ladybug, it actually will go eat an aphid, it'll just munch right down on it. So there's a wide range and suite of predators and parasitoids, often that are species specific to the target organism, that can be employed, and we can actually raise these in labs, and this has been successful in a number of agricultural situations. And it's safe and clean, and organisms can't build up a resistance to a particular chemical application. But you try all these methods, you scout. This is important to look at when you need to make these releases of living organisms, or so you can make decisions. So one of the issues is often just blanket spraying of everything, and it kills all the natural predators, which are important. So there's many different alternatives that can be used to perhaps avoid using chemical applications. Sometimes you may have to do that at the very end, to do a chemical application to knock down pests at a certain level. So sometimes that's a kind of a last resort, but if you can minimize the number of sprays, and obviously you got to look at efficacy of that compound and how long it will be toxic on the plants. That's an important matter as well.
Why does the U.S. use pesticides rather than producing food organically?
Well, the reason is because we have not just 310 million people to feed in our country, but we have, we're the breadbasket of the world. I mean, we provide a lot of the crops and grains that are sold on world markets. And we know right now, even with the use of pesticides, that 40 to 50% of crops are lost already, even with using fungicides and herbicides and pesticides. So we know that that's a problem already, and sheer volume of relying on that. Now, one of the issues that's associated with organic farming is frustration over GMOs, because one of the things that genetically modified organisms use, one of the key components it used was a vital tool that was used in organic farming, and that was to use Bacillus thuringiensis, BT. And now this bacterial organism has been put into corn, or essentially the genes that code for producing compounds that kill the insect upon feeding that plant, which is what happens. It makes the insect gut release its contents. So they bleed to death. They don't bleed from blood, but they die from their gut being ground up and destroyed, essentially. And but this was a tool that was useful for organic farmers, and now it's becoming unavailable due to resistance that it's put in so many corn and soybean crops. So this has been a discussion where the tools have been abducted that could be used by organic farmers by too much use in the general corn production. So there's a lot there. There's still more. I don't know what else. What was that question again? It was on, why does the U.S. use pesticides? I mean, it really is a matter of just quantity. The Green Revolution has cultivars that were traditionally bred, but that responded well to pesticides, but especially fertilizers. And The other thing is our system of monocultures makes it easy to fit in with these applications. So it just may be a more difficult situation to harvest and to send everything out if it's all done organically. But it doesn't mean we can't do more. You know, what people need to do is grow their own food, and that helps to do that a little bit, or go to more local markets. I really promote being a locavore, going to local areas to to get your food, even if they are using some pesticides, because really that travel of movement and stuff has a larger impact as well. Anyway, I just ran.